Well, ladies and gentlemen, the headline is up on Infowars.com right now, and it's also now being picked up by national media. Pro-gun sheriff found not guilty. Jury nullifies false arrest of Nick Finch, who is a national hero. He needs to be the next governor, I'm telling you right now, of Florida. It's these type of men that stand up for the Constitution that are going to save this country, and jury's doing the right thing. Pro-gun sheriff found not guilty, and Sheriff Finch joins us. Nick Finch, the Florida sheriff arrested in June after he defended the Second Amendment, has been declared not guilty on the charges brought against him, according to Richard Mack, reporting for Infowars.com. It's now confirmed by local news as well. The former Liberty County sheriff is about to be reinstated, so he still is the sheriff. We should probably add. Sheriff Finch, thank you so much, sir. This is a real honor for me. I don't get excited having Hollywood folks on. I get excited having you on. I got some butterflies. We salute you, and we salute that jury. Tell folks what happened to you. Tell us what it was like in there with that jury, sir.
Well, first, Alex, let me say thanks for having me on. I know that we've been trying to get up with each other for a long time, and we've kind of slipped through the cracks, and that's fine. But it's fine. It's good to finally meet you and get to talk to you. You know what? Yesterday afternoon, when we put on our defense, my attorney and I talked, and we kind of said, here's what I said to my attorney. I said, you think we'd shock the whole world if we didn't put on any defense at all? I said, I think the prosecution's already proved our case for us. And he smiled at me. He said, it's up to you, Sheriff. What are you going to do? And I said, well, I definitely need to go on a stand. I said, these jurors want me to look them in the eye and tell them that I did not commit any crimes, and that's what I did. And when I took the stand, I had direct eye contact with each juror, and each juror was looking at me, and they were paying attention to what I said, and they knew when I got done testifying that I was telling the truth, and they verified that. Yesterday, after I got off the stand, I was convinced that I was going to be found not guilty.
Now, sir, tell us about the false charges. Testify to the worldwide audience of 3 million people right now. In a nutshell, you've got the floor, Sheriff. What happened to you, what they did for those that didn't really follow the case or only saw state-run media demonizing you, and the entire political system coming after you because they're so afraid of lawmen being Americans, and then what it was like when you were found not guilty. And then I want to warn you, they're going to probably come after you again. You're a smart guy, you know that. But I mean, you're a national figure of honor. And I never talk like this to folks, but I know you're just going to say you did the right thing and upheld your oath, but we salute you, sir, for your courage. Because
well, I appreciate that, Alex. And when I got elected sheriff, you know, my deep, dark desire was not to become a national figure, but I know that I have, in some aspect, became a national figure, and that's okay. I'm big enough to handle that. But in a nutshell, what happened was one of my deputies made a traffic stop about 30 miles south of the capital of Liberty County, or the county seat of Liberty County. Found a firearm in the fellow's right front pocket. Guy's out there not bothering anybody. You know, he's on his way home. He's 5 miles from the house. And so my deputy arrested him for carrying a concealed firearm. And so I had got a call, and you know, my wife was with me at the time, actually, and I told my wife, I said, I wish you wouldn't have done that. I said, you know, I've got Second Amendment issues here that really bother me about that. Now, everybody knows in the state of Florida, the state law says that if you're going to carry a concealed firearm, you got to have a permit. But you know, I joined the military in 1981, Alex, and I swore the very same oath to support, protect, and defend the Constitution. And obviously, I agreed with that oath so much that I went to war for this country. So, you know, to me, the Constitution still means something. So I made the decision not to go through with the arrest. I went to the jail. I personally went to jail. Now, you got to understand, Liberty County is the smallest county in the state of Florida, 8,300 residents. These people want their sheriff to be personally involved, and that's what I am, is personally involved. And so I go and I release the guy. I tell the jailer we're not charging him, and I walk out and go home. Well, hell, that was on that was on March the 8th. Didn't hear another word about it until May 24th, when the Florida Department of Law Enforcement served a search warrant on my jail at 11 o'clock at night with, now listen, I told you I'm the smallest county in the state. We've got 8,300 residents, and they sent 4 FDLE agents to serve a search warrant on my jail.
Like you were a criminal.
Like I was a criminal. And so the very next morning, actually, that was Friday, Saturday morning, I woke up. I had the commissioner of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. I had his cell phone number as the sheriff of Liberty County. You know, I've got a lot of cell phone numbers. And I called him and I said, you know what? I said, all you really had to do was ask me what happened, and I'd have told you. But now that now that you've started a criminal investigation, my lips are sealed, my friend. I have nothing to say. And so, you know, I have known all along, Alex, everybody who has paid attention has known all along that I violated no law, and what I did based on my belief in the Second Amendment. Of course, the state tried to make it like I did a favor for a good old boy kind of thing, and they got up there yesterday and put on their dog and pony show, and they really had no case to begin with. But what
Sheriff, I mean, I'm not a sure
without pay. And having a felony hanging over my head, and it had an effect on me. I mean, I'm more concerned for my wife and my two daughters. You know what? They didn't sign up for this. They didn't deserve this. I'm a big boy. I can handle anything they want to throw at me. But it was hard on them, and it being hard on them made it hard on me. So.
Well, Sheriff Nick Finch joining us via cell phone right now. I'm not obviously an expert on the Florida Constitution, but I've read over the laws, had some lawyers on about your case. The way I read it, correct me if I'm wrong, that's out in the open. You're not supposed to have a gun concealed without the permit. But isn't it different in your house or your car under a lot of the rulings, and especially if you're traveling to or from your home?
Well, there are some different conditions. And quite honestly, Florida Statute 79251, the title of that statute is possession of a firearm in a motor vehicle for self-defense and other purposes, and it goes on and on. But the state law is so contradicting, because in one part of the statute it says, yeah, you have the absolute right, and the legislator agrees you have the right to keep it, and then another part says you got to have this, and then another part says, well, hell, if you're going fishing, you're okay. And so there's just so many different interpretations.
Exactly. And, so you're elected and you're following it, so you make your determination, and then they try to put you in prison for that, for a law-abiding citizen out there who's trying to protect himself, and your deputy took him to jail. Do we know who inside your department did this and went to the establishment to bear false witness?
Yeah, the deputy that actually made the arrest on March the 8th, I guess when after he decided that he didn't like that I was going to start looking into his financial situation, he decided to get a new job, and when he left, then he went forward 2.5 months later to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and complained about it.
Isn't that how it always is? So he didn't do this right away. He waited till you started trying to run a good shop.
Yes, yeah. Well, in fact, here's what happened. I hired 2 guys, made them captains, and I really was relying on those boys to help me out, because I always thought they were good boys. And I'm not saying they're not good boys, but what I'm saying is I was letting them do the hiring and firing. I'm the sheriff. I've got bigger fish to fry, and we were really put in a bind to begin with. When I took office, the top 7 leadership positions, and I don't want that to sound bad, but I mean, we only have like 14, so the top 7 walk out the door. So immediately I'm tasked with trying to find 7 people to come in and pick up the pieces and move on. So, it's pretty hasty. I was told this guy was a good guy, he'd be a great deputy, and it just didn't turn out the way that I had hoped that it would. But yes, to answer your question, they charged me with a 3rd-degree felony, and had they prevailed in this witch hunt, then I would have lost my law enforcement certificate. I would have lost the 15 years I have in the Florida retirement system, and I would have probably gone to jail for a little while.
Sheriff, let's talk about this briefly. I saw a lot of the Republican establishment line up against you, which I thought was particularly disgusting, but I think it's a litmus test now. Clearly you weren't breaking any laws. Then they tried to say you destroyed the report, when obviously, from your perspective, it was a false arrest, so you were simply just getting rid of something that was a false arrest. But, I mean, specifically, what do you make of some of the people in the state who claim that they're conservatives or patriots coming after you with such vengeance?
Well, in my opinion, they took the same oath that I took, Alex, to support, protect, and defend the Constitution, and I don't believe that, that was really what they were doing in this case. And am I mad? Yeah, I'm mad, but I'm going to try to get over being mad, and, I'm not going to say I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but what I'm saying is, at this point, right now I'm going to let bygones be bygones. I got to get back to work for the people of Liberty
No, I hear
County.
you, but here's the bottom line. Just like they've gone after Arpaio and others who stand up to them, they're going to come after you now. You seem like a smart guy. I mean, you know to really watch your back now.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we've got that. I've got a plan to protect myself now, and I will not make myself vulnerable again, and they're going to have a hard time ever coming after. Now, you're right. I believe they will try.
What was it like? What was it like when the jury? Sure, and hopefully, it won't be successful. People need to stand behind you here. We're all hanging together. What was it like, sir, when the jury said not guilty? What did the prosecution and the judge that I've seen say some pretty prejudiced things against the case? How did they behave?
You know what? I'm going to tell you something. I think the judge and the prosecution knew what the verdict was going to be before it ever came out, just like everybody else did. They weren't shocked. They weren't shocked. Because they knew that they had no case. The state presented no evidence against me at all.
Amazing. Stay there, Sheriff. This is so incredible. Hero Sheriff from Florida with us. Back in 1 minute. Are we choosing our own destiny, or has it been pre-selected for us?
As we've moved through history, every great leader has had to understand the potential of information.
Billions of dollars have been spent privately and publicly looking at how to tap into your psyche.
From compulsory state education to the Hollywood media brainwashing machine, we are kept in perpetual bondage to the ideas that shape our actions.
When somebody obscures that feedback loop between you observing and testing it out and verifying it, they can take total control of your awareness.
All of this is happening so fast, you need to be ahead of the game.
How to engineer the opinion of the American people so that they would not only endorse but demand a war.
Oh, there's another one. Another plane just hit.
State of Mind, because there's a war on for your mind. Get your copy of State of Mind, the movie, at Infowars.com. And remember, every order at InfoWarsStore.com receives a free citizen rulebook. Well, the sheriff there in Florida of Liberty County stood up for liberty. And I remember having lawyers on about it. I remember reading the statute. It's written both ways, but they can do whatever they want. But clearly, you're in your car, you're in your house, you can have a gun, concealed, unconcealed, whatever. And he said, look, you're not supposed to do this. And then they tried to persecute him. It was the last thing they want is sheriffs being Americans. Everything is about getting rid of the sheriffs, federalizing them. Sheriff, we're going to get you on after this whirlwind of you being found not guilty by the jury today, next week for 30 minutes or so. Thank you for the time. In the 3 or 4 minutes we've got left, what are your political aspirations now? I know you probably never had any, but folks are going to want you to run for higher office. Where do you go from here? And what do you want to say to the jury and the American people?
Before, and I said I never ever had any political aspirations. But I wanted to be the sheriff of Liberty County. I'm not a politician, but if I have to run for governor, if I have to run for state senator, if I have to run for a federal office, to try to stem the tide of what I believe is going on in this country, then I'm game as long as the people will support me. Hell, I'll go to the White House if they'll put me in there.
Well, exactly. That's the attitude we have to have. In the old days, back with Thomas Jefferson and people, they didn't want to go. George Washington, they were going to make him king. And he said, no, I don't want to go back to my farm. We want to have a free country. We don't want to go be around all these politicians, but we've got to serve. Just like you did in the Army, just like you're doing as sheriff, and we need leaders like you. But getting back to the jury, you got cut off. What was it like after they said not guilty? What was the look on the judge and the prosecutor's face, and did you get a chance to talk to the jurors?
No, I did not get a chance to talk to jurors. I did hold a press conference right after, and I thank each and every one of the jurors for coming to the only logical conclusion that they could come to. I think this jury was fair and impartial. They were very attentive to the whole trial process, and I couldn't have had a better jury. If somebody else would, if I'd have been able to handpick them myself, I could have had a better jury. To answer the question about the prosecutor and the judge, you know what? I really believe they knew in their heart that it was going to be not guilty, and there was really very little reaction from any of them.
I just saw a report yesterday where they were saying the judge wanted to make an example of you. I guess he didn't get what he wanted.
I guess not. Well, the prosecutor, Willie Meggs, when this all started, he told they offered me a deal, and the deal was, Sheriff, you resign, and we'll drop the charges, and we'll hold a special election in 2 years, and you can run for office again. And you know what I said to that? And then they called back about a week later and said, if you don't decide by Friday, the offer's off the table and we'll go to war. And I looked at my attorney and I said, you tell that prosecutor I know that at least one of us has been to war, so if that's what he wants, that's what he's going to get.
Well, that's what these bullies don't get, is that they've been pushing too long and good people are standing up. The sleeping giant is awakening. In closing, after you leave, any other points you think are important to make, Sheriff, about the fight we're in this country and what you've gone through?
Well, I just think that it's important more now than ever that these politicians start remembering the oath that they took to the Constitution and start standing up and fighting for the people that they swore that oath for. I find it absolutely disturbing the direction that this country is going in, and I'm concerned, Alex. I really am.
So where do you go from here? Just trying to get back to protecting and serving in your community?
For now, the first step is I have had contact with the governor today. They're working on a reinstatement order that should come this afternoon, so I'm ready to get back to work for the people of Liberty County, get things settled down, get our agency running back the way it needs to be running, and then, maybe in a couple of years from now we can look into maybe moving to a different position.
Sheriff Nick Finch, we're going to break. I'll say bye to you and let you get back to the other press conferences. Stay there. Thank you so much. Put him on hold, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, this is history happening. He went through the fire, and now he's going to be more successful in the fight of liberty with name recognition. By not backing down, he now is a national figure. We should all learn from that. This is how we become a free country again.
Now you can watch Alex Jones live at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
You can also browse the network, the InfoWars Nightly News,
and over 60 movies and documentaries all together in one place.
You can watch the Alex Jones radio show live as it happened.
So check it out, Infowars.com/show.